This is Chris Thomason of the Pioneer Press with Brian Murphy, Charlie Walters here at Winter Park, and Rick Spielman, general manager of the Vikings, has just addressed the media talking about why Leslie Frazier was fired. And one thing he brought up was consistency. I mean, they made the playoffs last year. They couldn't build on it this year. And he also cited he didn't like the way they didn't play well on the road, and also some of the ways they lost games this year, obviously losing so many close games. What did you take from what Rick Spielman said today, Brian?
I just think that this was a clear demarcation. This was a time to move on. Everybody agrees Les was a class act. Somebody who got something out of a team last year that wasn't expected to win, let alone make the playoffs. But that there was a drop-off. There was a severe drop-off. There was quarterback play that was wholly inconsistent, but also the decisions to make the decisions about who to start on a weekly basis. Spielman again said that was up to Leslie Frazier. He takes responsibility for putting this roster together. He thought it was a shot in the dark to go get Josh Freeman, but the decision to play him in New York, the decision to go with Castle, to go with Ponder when they were, that was all on Leslie Frazier, and that kind of play and those kind of inconsistent decisions ultimately doomed him, and that's what he's going to go down for, is the play of his quarterbacks.
What did you take out of what Rick Spielman said today, Charlie?
Same thing, Chris. If Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of this team, Leslie's still the coach, I suppose, and whose fault is that he didn't have the quarterbacks to play? The Freeman thing's a mess. It was a circus, really. The other guy, Castle, had a chance to get a nice raise in his contract, except he blew the last two games or didn't play well enough for that, and Ponder was up and down, and so you give Leslie those quarterbacks and say go win. It's a mess. I think it's unfair to Frazier. On the other hand, he reiterated, Spielman reiterated that he needed all that consistency. And I asked just you guys just a moment ago if they're in the playoffs, if he's still the coach of this team, and I'm not so sure of that. I would think that he would be, but it's a bunch of bunch of ifs and all that sort of thing. It's up and down, and he made a call. The Wilfs made a call, and now we got to find out who the next guy is.
Yeah, I think if the Vikings had made the playoffs, Leslie definitely would have stayed on as the coach. Last year they made the playoffs. They opted not to extend his contract, only picking up his 2014 option. I think it was a case of, okay, you did it once, let's do it again, because consistency was a huge issue with Rick Spielman today.
If I can add to that, Chris, I thought the moment last year when Leslie told us, of course, that he didn't know that he was going to be extended. When he was not extended, I think that was about the sign that he'd probably have to get in the playoffs to save his job.
Yeah,
when they didn't extend last year.
It sent a clear message that, look, what you did here, we're still not buying in, at least for a long-term investment. Show us what you can do next year. I mean, they tried to spin it as an extension. It was basically checking off a box on his existing contract, and I think it was pretty loud and clear that he was still on a audition basis at that point.
Yeah, and moving ahead to the next coach, Rick Spielman said he's not going to put himself in a box. He's going to look at coaches that have been head coaches either in college or in the pros, or haven't, coordinators. So really, he even said high school coaches. So if anyone knows of any good high school coaches, apparently you can be a candidate here in Minnesota.
Maybe Mike Grant gets interviewed. He gets interviewed for everything else.
Well,
Bud's kid.
He's got the pedigree, and he's obviously won at Eden Prairie, but it's a heck of a jump.
No, I'm just kidding about that.
Yeah, and well, John Gruden won't be the coach. I had a chance to talk to him, and he said he's definitely returning to ESPN next year and is not interested in any job. So we'll see who the next coach of the Vikings is. And signing off from Winter Park.